A very good evening, dear students. After the audit paper, I'm very, very sure you all must be satisfied and happy as well, because I have received so many messages from the students, and none of them has told me that the paper was very difficult or difficult. Some say, ma'am, MCQ we could handle easily, descriptive and difficult. Dear students. And on the contrary, the others said that the descriptive part went difficult and MCQs we could solve. So basically, anybody who has connected with me has only given the understanding that one part has gone a little tricky, the rest they could be managing very well. So I could say it was a good paper which you could attempt with a decent preparation. In fact, according to me, MCQs have been really simple, and the coverage and the way they have questioned is so straightforward. So I think if you have prepared decently well, cracking MCQs would not be difficult at all. Descriptive also the areas that we say in the class to be focused on, or maybe the areas which are key important areas. I think questions have been picked up from there. So this paper is genuinely not considered to be difficult. Only if you have not prepared, it is going to look difficult. Otherwise, according to me, it is not a difficult paper. It is a manageable paper. Those who have studied with me, those who have studied decently well, I think you would call this paper to be manageable. Some will also call it to be easy. Okay, will not over exaggerate, because in CA we know nothing is going to be easy. But yes, a manageable paper by itself is something which brings happiness to us. Okay, so I was very satisfied after looking the paper. So let's have a quick discussion of the MCQs. I'll give all the answers to you. If you believe your answer is different, or maybe you have a reason behind it, or you believe my interpretation has gone here and they're a little wrong, then definitely you can comment on it and we can have a good discussion on it. All right, so let's get started with the MCQ. And after I complete discussion with the MCQ, I prepared a PDF chart which I'll be uploading for their reference to the answers, where I've picked up the topics from where the questions are. So you'll be able to connect to the topics also very easily from which part, which question has been taken. All right. So we'll do the sharing part later. Let's first discuss the MCQs. One second. All right. So we have the question here. All right. So the screen is now available. You can just have a look at it. So let's quickly do it. So the first question was regarding audit evidences. So basically, when we talk about audit evidence, the question comes about internal, external evidence. So here they're telling external evidence is generally considered to be more reliable than internal evidence that we study as a part of reliability. But question is connected as the following is not an example for internal. So internally generated evidences. When you look at the first one, you understand purchase and sales invoices. Sales invoices are internally generated, whereas purchase is outside. So basically here, which is not an example for internal evidence, the answer obviously is A. Inspection report is internal. GRN obviously is internal, and bank reconciliation is prepared internally. Okay, so B, C, D, all of the are examples for internal. External is going to be the purchase invoices. Because when we buy something, we get the purchase invoice from the outsider, from the vendor. Okay, that is the first one. So the answer is A. Moving on to the next one. Which of the following statement is incorrect? So the question reading has to be very correct. And I always give the recommendation that questions have to be read twice to understand what they're telling. Which is incorrect with respect to written representation. So written representation, okay, SA 580, the question is all about. Okay, so you have written representation and necessary information that auditor requires in connection with the audit of entity's financial statement. It is a required information, necessary information, yes, because as per SA 580, some places will require it compulsorily. Written representations are important source of evidence. That also is correct. Written representation not only provide necessary audit evidence, but also provide sufficient appropriate evidence on their own about any matter which they deal with. Now, if you have gone through 580 very carefully, you know it. It's a corroborative audit evidence, a supporting audit evidence. Written representations come from the management. So we know it that it cannot be a sufficient appropriate evidence by itself. It can only be a supporting audit evidence. So here the question is regarding incorrect. Correct? And because of that, the incorrect answer here obviously is going to be C. Okay, moving on to the next one. Okay, next. After that, we have which of the following statement is inappropriate? The establishment of an overall audit strategy as well as detailed audit plan are not necessarily discrete or sequential. Okay, that is obviously correct because they are not required to be one after the other. Okay, they'll happen together. It could be the possibility that one after the other things will change. So the establishment of audit strategy as well as detailed audit plan are not necessarily discrete or sequential. So one after the other not required. Sometime audit plan also could change first, which will consequently lead to change in the audit strategy. So that's correct. Once the overall audit strategy is established, the audit plan can be developed to address the various matters. That also we know first we develop the audit strategy. Based on that, we decide the NTE of the further audit procedures. So B also is correct. First the development of strategy and then the plan. Audit strategy and audit plan are not interrelated. As per SA 300, when we discuss, audit strategy and audit plan are planning activities and they are interrelated. One can definitely lead to the change in the other. So they are saying a change in one may not result in the consequential change in the other. That is not correct. So the answer is B here because they're asking you about incorrect, inappropriate. So answer should be C. So third one answer is C. Then you have the integrated case study, first one. Here the question is all regarding government audit, where the focus is on expenditure audit. They're focused more on that. So basically, you know, audit against rules and expenditure audit. When you do audit against, we have rules and orders. Then we have against the sanctions. Then for provisions, we have proprietary audit we have, and then we have the performance audit. So questions have been taken from there. Based on the above facts, okay, we have to answer the following. They're telling DASH is conducted to ensure that various programs, scheme and projects where large financial expenditure has been incurred are economically and are yielding expected results. For this, you don't even have to read the question because when you look at the framework of the sentence, then only you'll understand that it is talking about performance audit. In performance audit only, we look into all of the yielding of result, achieving of goal. So we have goal and all, economy, efficiency, effectiveness. So it is basically the performance audit. Fifth one, while conducting the audit against provision of funds, the statutory auditor, Mrs. Rama and Associates, must check the following. So basically, they're telling out of the four, which is done in audit against provision of funds. So first one, that the expenditure incurred has been for the purpose for which grant has been given. And more importantly, the expenditure should not be exceeding the appropriation made. So here, no thinking, A is the answer. But let me tell you why B, C, D are not the answers. First is B is audit against sanctions. Okay, because there we understand whether it's general or special. Third and fourth are for rules and orders. Okay, the first one, audit against rules and orders. So that is C and D. So here the answer that comes for provision is only A. Clear? Then. Sixth one, which type of expenditure audit covers the scrutiny of for construction of stockyard by the company which is considered an infructuous and avoidable by C.A. Rama. But the word avoidable itself will get to know wasteful expenditure. And in government audit, wasteful expenditure is a part of propriety. Okay, so here also the question is very simple. The answer has to be B. So if you ask me integrated case study, this one, I would say all the four, even if you don't read the case study, you'll be able to get the answers to the question framing only here. Okay, so they're very simple. They're questioning about expenditure audit. One reading also, if you have done properly and understood the concept, these all things will not be a problem. Okay, you'll be able to pick up the correct one. Then integrated case study 2. Here the question is regarding audit of items of financial statement where verification of assertion is done. The article assistants have been allotted with different types of works. And as they're doing their work, they're coming across some problems. And they've given you every question as one problem faced by them. You have to give them the solution. Okay. So here the first one is, Mr. E, an articled clerk, was not sure about which item should be considered as intangible. Okay, in PQ Limited, according to AS 26, which of the following items should not be recognized? Not be recognized. So first, internally generated. Here, I would not recommend you to go to the answers directly. You have to make an answer and then pick your answer from the question, from the options given. Reason being, if you look at the option, you will definitely get confused. So here you will see that the first one, okay? The first one, internal generated goodwill cannot be recognized as an intangible. So option A is obviously going to be there. Compact disk in case of computer software. Okay, in case of computer software, we look at substance over the form. So computer software here becomes an intangible asset. Okay, so you can see which should not be recognized. So first is internally generated goodwill cannot be recognized. That is correct. Compact disk in case of computer software will become intangible here. But there are a lot of things to be taken care of. But because of the options given here, we can filter and say that looking into the understanding the software could be significant. It is identifiable, measurable, giving future economic benefits and fulfilling all the conditions. We believe it could be recognized as an intangible asset. Copyright is very much an intangible. But look at the last one, fourth one. Computer software for computer-controlled machine tools that cannot be operated without specific software, which is integral part of the related software. So basically, here they're telling software is not an add-on. Without the software, the hardware will not process. So as per AS 26, we have to recognize this as a PPE. Why? I mean, it is not going to be recognized as an intangible. It will be taken as a part of hardware only. So you have to accumulate the cost together and has to be recognized as a tangible asset, and depreciation has to be charged on both of them together. Because your hardware and software have to be working together. It is integral part. So we are going to look at the bigger format, which is going to be the hardware. So here the software cost will be added to the cost of hardware and it will be shown as one single asset, a tangible asset. Okay. So here which cannot be shown as intangible, the answer is 1 and 4. So from the option, if you look at it, 1 and 4. 1 and 4. So the answer has to be D. Okay. Then after that, we have the 8th one. Mr. F, an articled clerk, wants to know that which of the below statement is incorrect while auditing depreciation amortization. So for this, you have to understand about depreciation amortization. Depreciation on the revalued amount should be accounted from the revaluation reserve. Yes, adjustment will happen through the revaluation reserve. Answer is correct. Question is regarding incorrect. Okay, so that is not the answer. Depreciation and amortization have been charged as per the useful life. That is correct. Depreciation should be charged on the asset from the date of actual usage and not when they are ready to use. I think an easy one this was. You will start charging it not from the time it is actually put to use, but it is going to be from the date it was ready to use, which is basically available for use. So here incorrect is C, because depreciation should start from when they are ready to use. All right. So C has to be checked on. Here it is wrong. D is depreciation and amortization should be computed prospectively whenever there is a change in useful life. Yes, it is an accounting estimate changing. So you have to recognize it on prospective basis. Adjustment has to be done. All right. So the option here, which is question, is incorrect. Incorrect will be C. Then comes to 9th one. Mr. B, an articled clerk responsible for audit procedure concerning inventory, found that inventory amounting to 38 lakhs after excluding 2 lakhs of the inventory has been held by PQ Limited as a consignee, has been recognized in the balance sheet. Which of the following assertion? See, first of all, here they are looking into inventory 38 and 28. So valuation has not been checked because cost or NRV is not checked by them here. They're only telling that they've taken into account all the inventory, and inventory actually belongs to whom? They're shown in the balance sheet, means they belong to whom? The management, correct? So basically here, actually speaking, only rights and obligation is tested, but because we don't have the option only rights and obligation, occurrence no, measurement also no. It has to be completeness. Okay, so the answer has to be 2 and 3. Yeah, so the answer has to be A here. Okay, if you have any other discussion to be done with me, you can definitely do. But according to me, occurrence no, it is inventory, so that is not the criteria. Measurement also no, because nowhere they're telling about the valuation purpose of NRV cost and all that. So rights and obligation very much yes, because it has been recognized. That means it belongs to the owner, that is the client. Second, they have taken into account all. So 38 plus 2 also has been taken into account. So completeness can be taken. So 2 and 3 will be the answer. So answer is A. Okay. Then 10th one, Mr. C, an articled clerk responsible for audit procedure regarding share capital, found that during the year under audit, PQ has issued sweat equity shares amounting to 10 lakh. Which of the following statement is correct? This is more connected to section 54 of the Companies Act 2013 about sweat equity, where we discuss. Not 54, sir, 52, because 54 only. 52 securities premium, 53 discount, and then 54 is going to be overriding. That is sweat equity, correct? So it can be issued to the employees. Obviously, sweat equity is given to the employees or it is given to the directors. Okay, it can be given either without consideration or can be given for discount. And it should be of a class of shares already issued by PQ Limited. So basically here, all of these things are correct. It can be issued at discount also. So all are correct. The option has to be answer is D, because all the 4 are possible. Then comes to 11th one. Mr. D, an articled clerk, was performing audit procedure related to reserves and surplus in PQ Limited. Tell him that which statement are correct. Now here the correct question is there in respect of reserves and surplus. Reserves are the amounts appropriated out of profits for commitment. See, up to out of profit, the answer is correct, but for commitment cannot be, because if it is for commitment, it is a provision. So that is not a reserve. Okay. So first one is incorrect. So that cannot be the answer. Securities premium is a capital reserve. Yes, it is not a free reserve. A debit balance in the statement of P&L shall be shown as a negative figure under the head surplus. Correct. Second is correct. Third is correct. All reserves can be used to augment the working capital requirement of the company. Augment is used for the purpose of, augmenting is to minimizing the, the gap between requirement and how much you have and how much you require. So we cannot use it. Only free reserves are allowed for it, but we have restricted reserves like capital reserve, securities premium that cannot be used for working capital. So basically in that first and fourth is wrong. So the answer has to be 2 and 3. So 2 and 3 is option is A. Okay, moving on to the next one, integrated case study 3. Messrs. DG and Associates, Chartered Accountants have been appointed as the statutory auditor of HT Limited. So here the question is regarding, this is very easy. Okay, if you have done internal controls properly, and in the class, basically, to be very clear on, I always tell this to be very important. One more important thing is, while the discussion, I've given a detailed understanding of this, that is how you evaluate internal control. So here 3 questions are regarding tools to evaluate internal control. So if you have done narrative records, if you have done checklist, if you have done internal control questionnaire, and if you have done the flowchart, these 4 concepts, if you have done properly, which while explaining itself, I tell a very common question. If you have done, then out of the 4 questions, 3 are actually, you know it very easily. Because here one answer is coming from narrative, one is coming from checklist, one is coming from internal control questionnaire. Where if students have a little problem, would have with checklist has to be answered by whom? ICQ will be answered by whom? In the class, I always give a way of remembering it, that CA, checklist, is answered by auditing staff. And internal control questionnaire is answered by the client. Okay, so that confusion you could have, otherwise no confusion. And description is narrative record. Okay. So now they're telling the third team has suggested a method in which comprehensive series of questions concerning internal control is used to collect the information. These questions are usually issued to whom? Client, and client is requested to answer them. Okay. Which audit staff has to answer is called checklist. So which, first of all, comprehensive word is itself an idea. Second, who's answering? Client. So it is ICQ, internal control questionnaire. The answer is B here. 13th, in the initial stage of conducting audit of HT Private Limited, CA Mr. D decided to evaluate internal control of the company. Evaluate why internal control is important. Initial stage means at the planning stage. Why we check internal controls? To assess the risk of material misstatement. Why we assess the risk? To design the further audit procedure. And where the further audit procedure is given in the audit program. Okay, what is the NTE of further audit procedures? So this is done for the purpose of designing your audit program. Okay, where you require to have what kind of procedure, to the extent of procedure, and there is NTE, okay, of the procedures. The 13th answer will be D for audit program. 14th is again same question I told you. Here they're telling it is a set of questions, but here the answers have to come from where? Auditing staff must follow it. So obviously, remember CA, checklist, audit staff. So it has to be checklist. 15th, again, very easy. The word itself is telling here, complete an exhaustive description of internal control. In the explanation, I've already told you'll be having a word sheet or a proper written content is there from the beginning to the end, which is very difficult for large organization, very easy for smaller organization, but practically we don't do it and all. There is nothing but narrative record. Okay, 15th is B. So you can see the discussion by itself. You can just look at the questions. They are so simple. Okay, if you have had a good reading of all these topics, SQC is not tested, SA 220 not tested. Okay, then you have bank, from there the questions have not come. So from the complicated areas which we believe that this area the question comes, I'll have a problem, like drawing power comes, SQC you have the lead, all the 5 components. Okay, all of these things when they come in MCQ, like threat to independence and all, then our tension starts because confusing will be there. But these are really straightforward, and I think you'll be able to crack it. When it comes to descriptive also, there have been, I think, 2 or 3 questions only where a little bit of theory, too much as involvement is there. Remaining all are manageable and acceptable, like you will be able to handle it. Okay. Further, if you have any doubt with respect to these MCQs, if you believe the MCQ has, you have a different answer for it, then please drop your message on the comment box. I'll be happy to discuss with you and also understand why you give a different answer for it. Okay. All the very best for your next paper. Okay, and as a faculty, I feel very, very happy that the paper is got satisfactory and students are actually happy, because receiving so many messages with a positive note is a very good sign. Okay, so thank you and good luck for your last paper.